just jump in. All right. Okay. Friends, good evening. Shayna? Okay. Is it after? Okay. All right. Friends, good evening. Welcome to Yontiv services for our Tikkun, our time of learning. Before we start davening in about 35 minutes, customary to learn Torah on Erev Shavuot. Before we begin tonight's teaching, I want to take a moment to recognize someone who has had such a deep impact on our community, our shlicha, Michal Abramoff. Michal, where are you? Michal? There you are, Michal. Okay, all right. I didn't know where you went. You know? For the past 3 years, Michal has brought Israel not just into our synagogue, into this community, but deep into our hearts. She has literally taught in every corner of this congregation, from the youngest children in nursery school to our teens, our families, our adult learners. You've accompanied us on trips to Israel, lending your expertise, and in doing so, she has done far more than teach facts or history. She has built relationships with members of this community. She has deepened our understanding of Israel. She has challenged us to think and help us feel connected to our people in a way that is both personal and real. And then came October 7th. Since that day, Michal's presence here has meant even more. Michal, you have helped us carry the weight of this moment in our history. You brought insight, nuance, and empathy. You helped us find strength and clarity when things have felt broken and uncertain. Your teaching, especially your recent course on Israeli history, how many times did you offer that? Twice? 3 times. 3 times. As I joked with you, if one more person came up to me and told me how great that class was, I just didn't know what to say anymore, except we just kept offering it. It was extraordinary, and those rave reviews, because I have seen you teach, were more than deserved. In Pirkei Avot, as we conclude, study Pirkei Avot through this period of the Sefirah that we ended last night, there's a beautiful teaching that feels especially fitting tonight. Rabbi Chainina says, Marbeh Torah, Marbeh Chayim. Increase Torah, the more life. Michal, you have brought Torah into our community. Torat Yisrael, the Torah of the land of Israel, the Torah of your heart, of our people, our story, and your story. And in doing so, you have brought more life to this sacred community. You've expanded our hearts, you've deepened our connections, and you've helped us live more fully as Jews. As you begin the next chapter of your life, know that you leave behind a community that has been touched deeply by your presence here. You'll always have a home at Park Avenue Synagogue, and tonight it's only fitting that you will be our teacher once again as we begin the holiday of Shavuot, the holiday of Matan Torah, of giving of Torah, of revelation, and of learning. Please join me in thanking Michal and welcoming her to the Bima to teach.
Hi, everyone. Chag Sameach. Thank you so much, Rabbi Zuckerman. I feel like it's such a hyping up that I don't know if my teaching tonight will live up to it, but I hope so. And thank you all for being here tonight, being part of Park Avenue, being able to teach at Park Avenue has been so meaningful for me, and especially since October 7th, being in such a loving community and such a supportive of Israel community, such a Zionist community. It's been so wonderful and so amazing. And when I was asked to teach tonight, I was debating what I wanted to teach, because I always teach Israel. Naturally, I'm a shlicha, but I figured it's Shavuot. We cannot ignore the fact that it's Shavuot, and I would like for us to go into a bit of a journey of Shavuot. I promise we will talk about Israel, and there'll be Israeli history as well. But to start a bit with the holiday, Rabbi Zosmer has our source sheets. Did she? Yeah. So she'll start handing them out. If you'll notice also, I'm an experiential learning person and I learn in different ways. So our source sheet also has images on them, because why not? But while the papers are being passed out, I will also say this is a participatory class. So kind of to start us off, before you even see the sources, can anyone tell us why do we celebrate Shavuot? Why does this holiday even exist? So we have Michael here in front. Before we had the microphone say, it's Chag Matan Torah. It's when we got the Torah from the Sinai. We celebrate receiving the Torah. Great, thank you. Any other answers, examples, sources, resources? A harvest festival. Thank you very much. A harvest festival. Yes, Shavuot is also a harvest festival, or as we call it actually in Hebrew, it's Chag Bikurim. Bikurim in Hebrew means the first fruit. Thank you. I love that there's people already knowing the answers. So let's dive in a bit to where this holiday comes from. And if you look in your source sheet, I brought us our first answer to what is the origin of the holiday of Shavuot. It comes from the Torah. It's one of our Torah holidays. And we can see it in the book of Exodus. I'm happy to read it in Hebrew, but I would love for someone else to read it in English, because that would be great. So I will start with the Hebrew, and then in the meantime, decide if you want to volunteer. So our first source from Exodus 34 is V'chag Shavuot ta'aseh lecha bikurei katzir chitim v'chag ha'asif tkufat hashana. Any volunteers for our English? If not, I'll nominate people.
Thank you, my teacher. You shall observe the Feast of Weeks of the first fruits of the wheat harvest and the Feast of Ingathering at the turn of the year.
Amazing, thank you very much. So we can see here already we get the source of the name. The source of the name in the Hebrew, it said, V'chag Shavuot. Shavua in Hebrew means week, Shavuot is the plural, hence the weeks, right? Because Shavuot is the holiday that we celebrate 7 weeks after the holiday of Passover. We count 7 weeks, the Torah tells us to count 7 weeks, and then we reach to the holiday of the Shavuot. Anyone want to read the second one? While I'm reading the Hebrew. We have a volunteer over here. V'chag hakatzir bikurei ma'asecha, asher tizra basade, v'chag ha'asif b'tzet hashana, be'osfecha et ma'asecha min hasade.
And the feast of the harvest, of the first fruits of your work, of what you sow in the field, and the feast of ingathering at the end of the year, when you gather in the results of your work from the field.
Amazing, thank you. There's a lot of field, there's a lot of gathering, right? This is a full harvest festival. Now, if we think about the book of the Bible, when did we get the Torah? We got the Torah, as Michael said, in Sinai, as we were preparing to enter into the land of Israel. So none of this could happen outside of the land of Israel. This was sort of an instruction book. So when you get to this land, you shall harvest this land, and you should have a holiday to celebrate your harvest. To celebrate your harvest, it tells us a bit. It tells us about the first fruits, right? The bikurim. It tells us about the wheat harvest we had in our first source. And we actually have, when we talk about Shavuot, we talk about the 7 species. Does anyone know the 7 species? I had to remember them this morning. It was okay if you don't remember them.
There's a song.
There's a song. Our cantor. Wait, but I think Daniel was raising his hand.
I'm not going to sing the song. Segue. Wheat, barley, grapes, figs, pomegranates, olive or olive oil, and dates. Date honey.
Amazing, yeah, and great job. So we have 7 species that we celebrate. Those are all native species to the land of Israel. To the land of Israel. So it's a celebration of the land. And when we think a bit of Shavuot, and I didn't mention in the beginning, Shavuot is one of the 3 holidays that we got from the Torah that are called Shloshet HaRegalim. I don't know the word in English for it, I apologize. But Shloshet HaRegalim, do you know it? Pilgrimage, thank you. The 3 holidays of the pilgrimage, it's when we had a temple, the Israelites would go up to the temple to bring their sacrifices. So on Shavuot, what sacrifices would they bring? The first fruit, our 7 species, they would bring them up. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a temple anymore. We don't have a temple anymore. Most Jews, or I shouldn't say most Jews anymore, but for 2,000 years, most Jews weren't living in the land of Israel, so we had to find somewhere else to celebrate this holiday. So our ancient sages went back to our text, and they found another quote, which is our third source, which again I will read in Hebrew, and if someone will volunteer for the English. בחודש השלישי לצאת בני ישראל מארץ מצרים, ביום הזה באו מדבר סיני. Any English reading volunteers? Cantor Davis has the microphone. Thank you.
Thank you. On the third new moon after the Israelites had gone forth from the land of Egypt, on that very day they entered the wilderness of Sinai.
Amazing. So now we're getting a bit of a time frame that if we're thinking of the Exodus, right, the holiday of Passover, the Exodus, the third month since they left Egypt, that's when on that day they enter Sinai. This is a little bit of a weird verse from the Torah. It doesn't tell us too much. So thankfully, there was another book that tried to explain that. Now, I want to talk a bit about the Book of Jubilees because I don't think a lot of us know this book. It's actually one of the lost books of the ancient Israelites. It was written in around the 2nd century BCE, but one of the main sources of refinding this book was actually found in Ethiopia, in Ethiopian, in Amharic. And it has to do a lot with the Ethiopian Jewry and how connected to the Torah they were and how a lot of their sources are pre-Second Temple or during Second Temple. And it gives us a bit more explanation. Can someone read the English? I will read the Hebrew while you decide. ויהי בשנה הראשונה לצאת בני ישראל מארץ מצרים, בחודש השלישי, ב16 בו, וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, עלה אלי פה ההרה, ואתנה לך את שתי לוחות האבן, והתורה והמצווה אשר כתבתי להורותם. It's a longer one.
And it came to pass in the first year of the exodus of the children of Israel out of Egypt, in the third month, on the 16th day of that month, that God spoke to Moshe, saying, come up to me on the mount, and I will give thee 2 tablets of stone of the law and the commandments which I have written, that thou mayest teach them.
Amazing. Thank you very much. So here it gives us a bit more of an explanation of basically saying this random day from the book of Exodus, that day, right, that word, that day, that very day was the day we got the Torah. And there is where we sort of source the connection between Shavuot and the holiday of getting the Torah. Now, this is very, very important because once the exile happened, and once we weren't in the land of Israel, how can we celebrate a harvest festival that is connected to the land of Israel? Our sages had to find another example, another explanation, another commentary from the Torah to connect the idea that the Torah was given on this day, and therefore this is why this day was chosen, and why we also celebrate receiving the Torah. Now, what this shows us, and this is really important, is that Judaism evolves. Judaism throughout its history, throughout our time, has evolved, and it evolves based on the time and place in which Jews were. And that is why, if we now want to sort of look into our sources, there are so many. Because so many different Jewish communities, we're learning, we're practicing, we're adapting, right? Jews in Morocco couldn't do the harvest of that was commanded in the Bible. We didn't have a temple anymore to bring the sacrifice. So what can we do? So we're looking for different explanations and for different ways. And that's how traditions are born. It's symbolism, a way for us to practice something by creating something else to symbolize it. Can we have some examples? How do we celebrate Shavuot? What are some of the symbols, some of the traditions of Shavuot? So I heard dairy. Eating dairy, right? Eating dairy, by the way, nowhere in the Torah. And I actually saw a really funny video about how we choose a night to stay up all night and take a bunch of people who are lactose intolerant and make them eat dairy all day, which I should say is a very Ashkenazi thing. But again, still very predominant in our Jewish experience. So eat dairy. What else do we do on Shavuot? Study. We study the Torah. Right? We study the Torah, we study anything related. We come into sort of a diving and a full night of learning. We were actually just talking about this. Does anyone know what you call in Hebrew staying up all night? That's what we call this night where we stay up all night, Tikkun Leil Shavuot. We actually call it Laila Lavan. Laila means night, Lavan means white. So a white night is a night where you stay awake all night. And we can argue whether the origin of wearing white on Shavuot, and if you notice the Israelis in the room are wearing white, we can sort of debate whether the term Laila Lavan is the origin of wearing white, or is the origin of wearing white, the origin of what Laila Lavan means because of Tikkun Leil Shavuot. So we have a lot of practices. By the way, we'll see that there's a lot more traditions and a lot more things that happen. But also what we can see is that the connection between the tradition and the source of it gets a little loose, right? Where does the dairy come from? So why is it there? So I think, Michael, you're excited. Why is the dairy there? Why do we eat dairy?
The dairy is there because we didn't have laws of concrete yet, so we had no choice but to eat dairy because we didn't know what we could do.
Great, so I'll just repeat for everyone. Because if we celebrate receiving the Torah gives us the laws of kashrut, and if we didn't know how to hechsher anything, we have to eat dairy. And by the way, there are some communities that eat dairy on the Erev of Shavuot and then barbecue on the day of Shavuot, because now we received the Torah and therefore we can eat meat. So that's one of the main traditions. I'm sure there's a lot of other explanations, but it sort of brings us into this idea that the source and the tradition sort of evolve throughout times. Now, if you flip your page, you'll notice some of our visual learning experiences. So sort of going into the first two photos. The first two photos, can anyone sort of say, are they similar? Are they different? Are they describing the same thing? It's okay, take a moment, absorb. I will say one is from the Park Avenue website. So I'm hearing some murmuring, that's great. We also love if you can share with your neighbor. I'll help us a little bit. If we look at the one on the left, the one from the Park Avenue website, we can see the cheese, we can see the Torah and the Talit, we can also see the wheat, right? Very connected sort of to a lot of what we've been talking about. But if we look to the picture on the right, we're missing the Torah, but we have a lot more harvest, right? There's katzir, there's hay. There's also a basket filled with fruit. Those first fruit that Daniel said so well, right? The grapes, the figs, the dates, the cheese. The cheese has to be there. We also eat cheese in Israel, I promise. But what's interesting about these pictures is that I Googled the word Shavuot in Google Images in English and got the Park Avenue picture. And then I Googled in Hebrew and got the picture on the right. It shows us a very big difference between how these traditions have evolved within American Jewry or world Jewry to Israeli Jewry. And how in Israel, I didn't even know that we study Torah on Shavuot. It's not what I grew up with. I grew up with the harvest festival, right? You come wearing white, you bring your basket with your fruits, and you celebrate the harvest. And that actually originates back to the history of Zionism. And we're going to do a little history of Zionism because we don't have time to do a full one. But in the 19th century, when the early Zionists were coming back to Israel, most of them were secular. Most of them were secular, especially those early Zionists coming from the former Soviet Union. And when they reached the land of Israel, there was a lot of talk about what is our Jewish identity? How do we build this Jewish uniqueness when we're all secular, right? We don't study Torah. We don't necessarily go to a synagogue. We don't, do a lot of Jewish religion. But we are Jewish, and we want to connect to our origins. So the early Zionists went back to the Torah, and what does the Torah say about Shavuot? It's a harvest festival. Amazing. The early Zionists were agriculturalists. It gave them their full motivation, and to this day, especially in the kibbutzim, which are the early sort of Zionist towns that were built, Shavuot is the big harvest festival of the year, where they present all of their big fruits. They have a big community celebration, and it's really the time when we connect to our land. And just by this simple image, because we're already 77 years into the modern state of Israel, 150 years into Zionism, even more. And we can see these two images show us how the same source, the same holiday, the same thing that we all share, sort of is developing into different directions. Now, if you look on the next couple of pictures, this is some pictures from Shavuot in Israel. I'll start with the one at the bottom because I think that is the one we already talked about. Again, we can see the children wearing white with their baskets and fruit, with the big roll of cheese. Again, I went to school on Shavuot, or on Erev Shavuot, because we have Shavuot off, but on Erev Shavuot, wearing white, we would do a festival of the 7 species. We would learn about the 7 species. We would learn about the history of our people and their connection to the land. And that's not accidental, because a lot of Zionism and a lot of modern day Israel is sort of building that, reconnecting us to the land, creating a continuity from the Torah, from the Tanakh, from those early stories, to modern day Israel. We actually have a phrase that we say in Hebrew. We say, mitanach lepalmach, which is nice because it rhymes, but Tanakh is the Torah, the books of the Torah and the prophets and the writings, and then palmach is the elite unit of the sort of early Israel pre-state British mandate paramilitary force. Again, I can do a whole class just on this, so I'm just throwing little things in. But if you look at the pictures on top, those might not be your first association with Shavuot. Because the picture on the right, the picture with the mothers and the babies, is actually a beautiful tradition that we have in Israel for Shavuot, where when we celebrate our bikurim, we celebrate our first fruit, we also celebrate all the babies that were born that year. And it's very, very popular in the kibbutzim again, but also even in my school, all the teachers who had a baby that year would come with their babies to school that day, and they would do the dance of the babies, presenting the babies into the community as our first fruit. Highly recommended for Park Avenue, by the way, a great Shavuot tradition to bring in all the babies that were born this year. But it's a different meaning of what is first fruit. It's how we can create more meaning and more traditions around it. The picture on the left, though, I don't know if it still happens. I doubt since COVID and October 7th it happens, but when I was growing up, it was definitely happening. On Shavuot, the day of Shavuot, is the great water fight of Israel. Everyone would gather. Can anyone recognize where the picture is? Anyone who's been to Israel? It's not. כן, את צודקת. It is Habima. So that's Habima Square. I'm sorry, I was just confused because when I was growing up, we would go to Rabin Square, but now it's under renovation, so you can't go there anymore. But Habima Square, it's a big square in Tel Aviv. We would all gather with our water guns and, with our buckets and spill water on each other. Now, I assumed as a child, it's because we wear white on Shavuot. So some silly little kid said, it'll be really cool if we pour water on everyone. Actually, there is a true reason for it. In North African communities, the holiday of Shavuot is the holiday where they bless the couples that got married this year. And one of the traditions in those synagogues, inside the synagogue, was to pour water over the bride and groom in order to celebrate them. Of course, the rabbis got very upset. It makes the synagogue very wet. So it moved outside. And it really isn't practiced anymore as part of the ritual of Shavuot, but it became this tradition of children playing water games, basically. But even I, who partook in those games, didn't know the origin of it. And that sort of brings me to really where I wanted to go with this journey, and thank you for going on this journey with me, is to the fact that Judaism, when it evolves when tradition learns from tradition that learns from tradition, that eventually we lose the source of it. And when we lose the source of it, and when we look at Jewish people around the world in the 2,000 years of exile, different communities have developed in different ways. And Judaism has evolved in different ways. So in the end, if I am, as an Israeli, am in Shavuot in New York, and I see everyone staying up all night learning Torah, I'm like, what are they doing? This isn't Shavuot. And if I'm an American going to Israel and going to Kikar Habima and see kids pouring water at each other, this isn't Shavuot. But in the end, we're both doing the celebration of the same holiday. And that brings us to the challenge of Jewish diversity, the challenge of Jewish peoplehood, of how do we become one. And before we read the last paragraph, which I'm so happy that I could bring, Michal Abramoff is actually a teacher and a friend of mine, and I'm just so admiring of her, and I'm so happy to introduce some of her writings to you. But before that, it's kind of, remember when I said I wasn't sure what I was going to teach about? What I'm actually teaching about is not about Shavuot. Shavuot was our example. I'm teaching you about my role, my job as a shlicha. Because I am here to bring you the traditions in Israel, not so that we can copy them, not so that we can compare them, but so we can learn from them, so that we can unite from them, so that we can celebrate our diversity and feel connected to each other. Because the more Judaism evolves, and we want Judaism to evolve, the more we have to work hard on finding those connections to each other, building those bridges. That's literally part of the Shlichut slogan, is building bridges, but bringing it together. So can anyone read the last paragraph? It's a long one, so we can even divide it up. Great, thank you.
Maintaining a sense of peoplehood in an environment of diversity means to develop an active concern for and commitment to those who have beliefs and lifestyles which are often contradictory to one's own. This Jewish diversity is growing and is increasingly challenging the sense of belonging to one collective. Pluralism can also act to strengthen the sense of Jewish peoplehood. It can become the guiding principle in developing a sense of belonging and commitment to diverse Jewish collectives. Introducing the Jewish narrative will then include exposure to the shared history and ethnicity of the Jewish people, as well to various current concepts of living a Jewish life.
Thank you very much. I will say this is part of a larger, actually an entire booklet about Jewish peoplehood, but specifically Michal's article is about educating Jewishly. And what are the challenges of us as educators in the 21st century, of us as Jewish communities in the 21st century. She talks a lot, she actually grew in a very Orthodox community and talks about sort of finding pluralistic liberal Judaism in later life. I can also say I've had a similar upbringing. I grew up in an Orthodox Sephardic home and found pluralistic liberal Judaism later in life. And there's something beautiful about it. There's something beautiful about it because especially after October 7th, but even before October 7th, right? We have this when there's an outside threat, it pushes us together. What I would like to sort of leave you with for today is that we don't need an October 7th to bring us together. We need to learn from each other. We need to find each other. We need to learn each other's traditions and celebrate it. How wonderful it is that there are so many ways to celebrate Shavuot, and how wonderful it is that all of you are here today to learn about Shavuot, and how wonderful it is for me to be able to even be here to be teaching you this. So I want to end by again thanking Park Avenue Synagogue for just letting me be here, letting me be part of this community, for all of you for being here, for coming to my classes, for coming to my programs, for asking me your questions. It's really been such a amazing and crazy journey, but this paragraph is really the essence of my motivator for it. I want us to celebrate Jewish diversity. I want us to feel connected to each other, and it's an honor and a privilege for me to be able to do that. So thank you all very much. And Chag Sameach.
Yasher Koach, Michal, thank you so much. What an important message about coming together and unity and understanding one another. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
As we get ready now to transition to Mariv, the evening service, and to beginning the holiday, we're going to give you a little taste with a song of Ruth as we are preparing to start the holiday.
Where you go, I will go. Where you launch, I will launch. And your people shall be my people, and your God, my God.
was beautiful. Thank you. We can take out the Siddur Lev Shalem as we begin the evening service. I'll invite everyone to rise in body or in spirit. We're on page 39A with Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
We may be seated.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, מבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים תמים לא כלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים, אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת. Page 40. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו והם נגי יומם והלילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל.
Page 41, Shema.
שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו Adonai echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha ve'hayu hadivarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך בים. We continue silently on page 42. Adonai Elohechem emet ve'emunah kazot v'kayam aleinu.
We continue on page 44 with Micha Mocha.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נדר בקודש נורא תהילות אוסף אלה מלכותך רוב עניך בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים זלי ענו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כיפת אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
We ask God to spread over us a canopy of peace. Hashkivenu, page 45.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, shlomecha. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, baruch atah Adonai, hapore sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
We rise in body or in spirit. We're in the middle of page 46.
Hayidaber Moshe et moedei Adonai el bnei Yisrael. Yitkadash v'yitkadash shemei Rabba ve'al hema divrach yir'utei ve'amlich malchutei v'chayechon u'yomechon u'chayet techol beit Yisrael bagalau v'zman kariv v'yimaru amen. Yehi shemei Rabba mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalal shemnei t'kudesha barichu le'ela min kol bechata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'yimaru amen.
We take some time now for the Amidah, beginning on page 47, remembering the passages for Shavuot. Page 306.
22 foundation letters engraved in the voice, hewn in the wind, fixed in the mouth in 5 places, in the throat, on the palate, on the tongue, on the teeth, in the lips. 22 letters that God bound with God's tongue and revealed God's secret. God drew them up in water, ignited them in fire, sounded them in wind, burned them with the 7 planets, led them in 12 constellations. 22 letters. God engraved them, hewed them, weighed them, exchanged them, and permuted them, and in them created the soul of every creature and every future creation. My senior recital and my senior thesis focused on sound as a concept in both science and Jewish mystical texts. And these teachings from Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creation, this Kabbalistic work, speak so beautifully to both the idea of creation through sound that we think of with the Big Bang, and the creation of sound that we think of with, and God said, let there be. This idea that we have the ability to be co-creators through our voices, through our words, through our songs, and through our ability to learn about these holy letters that make up so many of our teachings is something incredible and beautiful, and something that I have felt so strongly in my time here over these last 2 years. And so while this next song might not be something that we're used to hearing in this space or perhaps anywhere, I invite you to embrace weirdness, perhaps, and allow yourself to feel the power of these letters and the sounds, and to think about what you might be able to create with your own voices. עשרים ושתיים אותיות יסוד, חקוקות בקול, חצובות ברוח, קבועות בפה, ב5 מקומות בגרון, בחך בלשון, בשיניים, בשפתיים, 22 אותיות שקשר בלשונו, וגילה את סודו. משכן במים, דלקן באש, רשן ברוח, ברן בשיבה, יגן ב12 מזלות, 22 אותיות, הקלן, חצפן, שקלן, המירן, צרפן, צרבהן. נפש כל יצור, וכל העתיד לצור. יצר מיתו ממש, עשה אינו ישנו, חצב אבנים גדולות, באוויר שאינו נתפס. יצר מיתו ממש, עשה אינו ישנו, חצב אבנים גדולות, באוויר שאינו נתפס. 22 אותיות יסוד, 3 שמות, 7 כפולות, מם דוממת, שין שורקת, א' חוק מקריאה בינתיים, 3 שמות שהן שושבות, והן יצא אש רוח מים, 7 כפולות, 7 כפולות, ב' ב' ג' ג' ד' ד' כ' כ' פ' פ' ר' ר' ת' ת', 7 כפולות, 7 ולא 6, 7 כפולות, 7 ולא 8, 2 עיניים, 2 אוזניים, 2 נקבי האף והפה, צבע השוף, מה שאין הפה יכול לדבר ואין האוזן יכולה לשמוע, לא יצר מיתו ממש, עשה אינו ישנו, חצב אבנים גדולות, באוויר שאינו נתפס. יצר מיתו ממש, עשה אינו ישנו, חצב אבנים גדולות, באוויר שאינו נתפס. פשולות, 12 פשולות, ה' ו' ז' ח' ט' י' ל' נ' ס' ע' צ' ק', 2 לועזין, 2 עליזין, 2 יועצין, 2 ייעוצין, 2 טורפין, 2 ציידין, זה לעומת זה. עשאן כמין, מדינה וארכן כמין, מלחמה. יצר מיתו ממש, עשה אינו ישנו, חצב אבנים גדולות, באוויר שאינו
Page 54, Kaddish Shalem.
A typical day at Park Avenue Synagogue. Vit kada shmei rabba, be'al madi ba'kute be'al nichmo chute, b'chaye chonu achon b'chaye chol beit Yisrael, b'agalav izman kariv yimeru amei, yehi shmei rabba mevarach, le'alam ulam me'al maya. Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitba'ar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitale, v'yitalal, shmei d'kunesh b'richu. Leil min kol bechata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'yimru amei. Tika baltzot honwot hono Yisrael, kodam b'hon v'shmaya v'yimru amei. Yehish lamar v'min shmaya v'chaim alir ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amei. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'yimru amei.
Turn to page 79. We rise in body or in spirit for the festival Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol am, veromamanu mikol ashon, v'kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'titen lanu Adonai Eloheinu be'ahava. Moadim l'simcha, chagim uzmanim l'sason. Et yom chag ha-Shavuot hazeh, zman matan Torateinu. Mikra kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'chata ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim. Umoadei kodshecha b'simcha u'sason. Inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai. Mekadesh Yisrael ve'azmanim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Amen. We remain standing for Aleinu. We're on page 56.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, la'tet gedula le'yotzeh bereshit, shelo asanu pigoyei haratzot, ve'lo samanu kamishpechut ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu chahem, ve'gur aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu Hakatuv b'toratecha, Adonai himloch le'olam va'ed, v'ne'emar, v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol ha'aretz, b'yom hahu yihya Adonai echad, u'shemo
If you're in a period of mourning or observing a yahrzeit, I invite you to remain standing, otherwise you may be seated. Mourner's Kaddish, page 58. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divra kirutei ve'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmed kudsha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'ramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May their memories be for a blessing. You may be seated. Chag Sameach. After this service ends, we will be on the roof for some kiddush, some treats, some cheesecake, I think, a chance to wish Mazel Tov again to Michal and to Cantor Fox. And tomorrow morning, 9:45 for the first day of Shavuot, and we're also celebrating the B'nai Mitzvah of our fabulous adult B'nai Mitzvah class. So don't miss it, 9:45 in the sanctuary, and then second day of Shavuot as well, 9:45 in the sanctuary with Yisker as part of that service. We are going to conclude with Yigdal. We're on page 62.
יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח ימצא בהנהג אל מציאותו אחד בן יחיד בייחודו נעלם וגם אין סוף לאחדותו אין לו דמות הגוף ואינו גוף לא נערוך אליו קדושתו קדמון לכל דבר אשר נברא ראשון ואין ראשית לשראשיתו ומלך איש חסד כן מפעלו נותן לרשע רק הרישתו ישלח לקץ ימים משיחנו לפדות מחכה קץ ישועתו מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו ברוך עדי עד שם תהילתו מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו ברוך עדי עד שם תהילתו.
Cantor Fox, Yasher Koach to you, to Michal, Yasher Koach to you for being our teacher. Sometimes a plan just comes together without us having anything to do with making it successful. Michal spoke about the plurality of Jewish practice, and Cantor Fox, you demonstrated that for us by incorporating rap into our service. The only thing I regret is that the backup dancers who were at your recital were not here tonight, all right? We can see that online if we Google? Okay, but really to both of you, thank you for an extraordinary evening of learning and singing. Michal, why don't you come up here for a minute so we can truly embarrass you and thank you. And I know I shared some words at the beginning, but I do want to just say a few more things and then invite Stephanie Katz-Rothman up to share a few words. As I said, Michal, when I introduced you earlier tonight, and we felt it, we experienced it here this evening, when you teach, you bring the heart of Israel to our community. Its passion, its complexity, its resilience, Torah Yisrael, the Torah of our people, the Torah of our land. You teach with depth, with honesty, and with love, and in doing so, you have left a mark on our synagogue. It's fitting that we are saying goodbye to you tonight. It's not actually goodbye, but it's lehitrot, right? On the eve of Shavuot, the holiday of Revelation, and I'm reminded that Revelation, for us, isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning, because the portion that we read every single year before Shavuot is Parshat Bamidbar. We don't read Yitro. We don't read about the giving of the Torah beforehand and then experience it on Sinai, because this Torah, as you spoke about, the evolving nature of Torah and tradition, it's not about standing still at Sinai. It's about moving forward into the wilderness, into the unknown, anchored by our traditions and carrying the Torah with us. So, Michal, as you step into the next chapter of your journey, may you do so with the blessing of knowing that your impact here in this community, those you have taught, those you have touched, those that you have entered into relationships with, that impact will continue to unfold. You have literally given us a piece of Sinai, and we will carry it forward into the Midbar, into the wilderness, and well into the future. On behalf of all of us, the community, the staff who has worked so closely with you now for 3 years, I want to thank you, and I look forward to seeing you not just in New York City, but also in the land of Israel when we are there, and relationships will continue. So, Stephanie, I'd like to invite you to come forward to share some words.
Michal, my teacher, maybe my favorite teacher. Your presence in our community has enriched us, and you were the perfect shlicha for us and for the whole Upper East Side during these past 2 extremely challenging years. All generations at PAS, from our babies to our seniors, have been so fortunate to learn from you. You have helped all of us deepen our connections to and understanding of Israel. We are thrilled for you to begin studying for your doctorate in education at JTS. On behalf of the board and the entire PAS community, Toda Rabah.
Cantor Fox, please join us. Chag Sameach, everyone. It's hard to believe that it's already time to say goodbye to Sierra, our brilliant, soulful, and wonderfully quirky Cantorial intern.
From the moment Sierra arrived, she brought more than just her extraordinary voice. Though, let's be honest, that voice could melt anyone's heart. She brought deep compassion, a genuine pastoral presence, and a gift for helping people feel heard, seen, and gently held, whether through a prayer, a quiet conversation, or even an origami gift.
She didn't just lead us in song, she invited us into sacred space. She made space for grief, for joy, and for wonder. She could hold a shiva with as much grace as she could lead a ruach-filled Tat Shabbat. And along the way, she taught us not just about music or tefillah, but about showing up with heart.
Of course, we'll also miss the little things that made Cantor Fox who she is. The pops of green, the rocks in her pocket. Yes, actual rocks. Her beautiful mezzo-soprano voice, and the strength behind her thoughtful, deeply rooted presence.
Now Sierra is off to Congregation Mishkan Israel in Hamden, Connecticut. And Mishkan, if you're listening, please treat her well. She's an extraordinary leader, a spirited teacher, and now a dear friend.
Sierra, we are so proud of you. Thank you for the music, the meaning, and the memories. We send you off with love, gratitude, and a pocket full of blessings. Maybe tucked inside a few rocks as well.
Go sing your song. We'll be listening.
We paved her schedule, and Sierra still made time to sing us to heaven and to keep the vibe divine. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's flown off to Mishkan with a big green talit of her own?
Ba, 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 ba.
Farms rocks in Hamden, singing Mishkan song. She helped our teens and our elders feel seen with harmony sweet and a spirit so serene. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? Sierra will miss you. Don't stay away too long.
Hey, CT, treat her well. She's a dipstand, can't you tell?
The cantor in green, she's new on the Hampden scene. That's our cantor fox with a pocket full of rocks.
We have Stephanie.
That's a really tough act to follow.
You're not going to sing it?
I'm not going to sing it. Sierra, watching you grow and develop as a cantor has been such a joy. I remember your interview, sitting right there. We all knew you would add so much to our community. Your work ethic and dedication to learning all of the liturgy. Your passion and especially your kindness are inspiring. We will miss your voice and your presence on our bima, and we can't wait to follow your cantorate in Hamden, Connecticut. On behalf of the board and the entire PAS community, Toda Rabah, and you get.
We want to invite all rabbis and cantors to come forward. If there are family members here, please come forward as well.
May you be blessed as you go on your way. May you be guided in peace. May you be blessed with health and joy. May this be your blessing. Amen. 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 May this be your blessing. Amen. 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 May this be your blessing. Amen.
Chag Sameach, everyone.